Welcome to our keynote presentation, everyone. I want to acknowledge Fund Data, and I want to mention Jocelyn Courcelle, VP of Client Relation and Business Development with Fund Data, who is making this keynote presentation possible for us. I want to, of course, thank as well Gerry Purcell, who is our keynote presenter. Gerry has over 30 years of experience in management consulting, innovation, and strategy. He works for a company nowadays by the name of Innovation 360 Group, and he's going to address for us in the span of the next 35 or so minutes. He's going to address a hot topic, and I'm not talking about it from the perspective of investing. We've all heard of the Magnificent Seven. We also all know that they're probably a little bit pricey, and that's not what the presentation is about. The presentation is about giving you a sense as to, what to expect from artificial intelligence. How is it going to challenge, or how is it going to benefit the financial advice channel? How is it going to play out in terms of ETF advisors and so on? And so with that, I want to welcome Gerry. I want to thank him for joining us to give us this keynote and let him take us through his thoughts and his insight. Good afternoon, Gerry, and welcome.
Good afternoon, Yves, and thank you very much for the introduction. Today, I want to talk about innovation, artificial intelligence, and ETF advisors. And as you'll see on the screen, the sort of mantra for today is "Don't worry, but make sure that you're paying attention." Just a quick sort of overview of what Innovation 360 is all about. We offer an AI-enabled strategy approach to things. We're a global team, and with physical locations across the world. We basically answer the question: what makes successful organizations successful versus those that don't? And as you can see on the screen, we have a number of different tools and techniques that we use and we license to others to use in answering that question, including Sherlock, who's up in the top right-hand corner there, which is our AI engine that helps to look at what is the largest, most comprehensive database of innovation management capability data in the world. Today, I want to talk about a number of different things. One is I wanted to start with an understanding of the definitions of a couple of AI terms, or the AI itself, in fact. Then I want to discuss the current sort of state of AI in banking and a view of sort of the evolving value perspective on AI within the banking and other institutions or other industries. What does that mean for AI or for advisors within the space, and sort of the impact of AI on investors? A little bit on the use cases, and then sort of finishing up with some insight on the leaders in the AI space, the future, and then a couple of key takeaways that I'll leave with you. So to start with, a quote from one of the co-founders of Microsoft: AI is neither good nor evil. It's a technology for us to use. And I think that's a good premise to look at. And in fact, I think it's a good premise to look at other technology changes that we've experienced in the past and will experience in the future. There are some patterns. There are some things that we do naturally around new ideas, and I'll touch upon a few of those things as we go forward in the context of innovation in the sort of a tech space around the industry. A couple of definitions. Well, traditional AI is about performing a task. It's about responding to a particular set of inputs and some specific rules, and to accomplish a certain job. And really, what it doesn't do is create anything really new. So computer chess is an example where there are rules and it can predict sort of outcomes, but basically it's following a process to get to the end, and may or may not win when playing against a human being. Well, generative AI is different than that. Generative AI is about learning and about using data to understand patterns and generate new data. So in that way, it's actually generating something new. Gen AI can actually take it a step further and look at all kinds of different data as it sort of trains itself or as it learns. And it can create both text and images, but also music, computer code, et cetera. And a number of you have, I'm sure, experienced or read about the Gen AI environment and its promise in the future. So, for example, telling stories. I asked Gen AI to write my resume for fun, actually, just to see what it would say, and it was actually pretty good. Unfortunately, it wasn't exactly 100% accurate. And so one of the things that AI can do, or generative AI can do, is to generate some fantastic stories or pictures or whatever, but we still have to be careful that the insights or the output is validated, because it has a tendency to expand on ideas without perhaps without even knowing it. So in banking, AI has the potential to truly change the shape of financial services. And there's a reason why AI stands out, because it's really a quantum leap in productivity, but also in terms of impact on the customer experience. It has a relatively low barrier to entry. And in fact, that barrier is getting lower and lower, as there's been some insight in the last few weeks around the ability to simplify access through some of the Gen AI tools and whatever. So a wide range of players can quickly test, understand, and use the AI technologies. And one of the sort of big impacts, particularly in the early days, has been the ability to impact both front, middle, and back offices, making it providing a competitive advantage, because often innovation is out in the public domain, whereas AI happening in behind the scenes can have an impact that in fact can be protected, or at least provide some longer term competitive advantage by doing things differently without it sort of being out in the sort of open. So really, it's possible to rewire a bank, and where it's not visible, it's in sort of the outside world, and to take these new technologies and generate competitive advantage with them. The other side of things is that scientists and those involved in the space don't understand exactly how some of these decisions are made and where these decisions come from. So that's where the sort of caution comes, and making sure that we're sort of watching as we go along. But it does provide us with an opportunity to build strategy. So strategizing, focusing and then sort of making sure that we're paying attention are sort of watchwords in the context of AI. So it's really quite new. It's not really suited for some applications yet, and it remains prone to errors, but it has significant opportunity going forward, and we need to sort of watch and determine what those sort of new opportunities might be. One of the things that's evolving in terms of AI is also the sort of additional value, or the change in the sort of context within which we're using AI. And as we enter into the generative AI environment, we move from past levels. Level one, which is do what I say, here's a task, finish it. Level two being research and report back, take this information, look at the patterns, come back with some information, through to a level three, which is take a look at something and tell me what I should do. And so in generative AI, that applies to video or images, or taking and doing a task around summarizing meetings, and a number of different things, including the potential to make decisions. And so there's a bit of a slippery slope, or a bit of an issue as it relates to using the AI tools, in that we'll have to become comfortable and understand why and what these tools are doing on our behalf, and make sure that we have the right checks and balances in place. And for example, I don't think we're in a position where a lot of this new technology, this AI technology, could be used in an effective way for deep regulatory activity, because I think we may be exposed and not know it. The final phase, level 5, that is, the final level, is where perhaps in the future AI could act independently, and that's the kind of stuff that we see in science fiction movies. And I'll talk about that a little bit as we go forward. But as the sort of evolution and the potential value add improves, then we can get to an enhanced level where some of these tools might be able to act in an independent way. So what do we do when we think about how to use these tools and how to sort of innovate within our environment? One of the important things, or one of the things that happens typically, is with new tools in general, we spend a lot of time in what's on this chart here on the left-hand side called H1, which is looking at ways of improving activities that are incremental. So a new process, reduced cost, changing steps, moving steps, that kind of stuff. And we don't spend enough time on the right-hand side of the range here, which is called radical innovation, which is looking for ways that might increase significant scale, might introduce a new business, or a new way of looking at the business. And so the question for organizations as they think about AI and its potential is to think about what is the most appropriate balance between the performance side and the radical innovation side, as we think about how we can take advantage of these technologies, and recognizing there is a tension. There's always a push towards the left-hand side because returns can be better defined. They're often physical or cash related, whereas the returns on the right-hand side are more to do with insights and certainty, which ultimately can be applied to the left-hand side as we sort of figure these things out. So really H2 is the middle part, which is when we look at new ideas and how to apply them to different situations as we sort of learn from the radical side of things. Well, perfect world is something like 50% H1, 30% H2, 20% H3. Each industry, each customer, each client or each organization will have a different and appropriate mix depending on their business and where it stands. But it is something to consider, that tension. So advisors, according to recent research from Morgan Stanley, think that AI will revolutionize investing and trading. And it's going to improve the quality of customer care for customers, and as associated with that, the advisors themselves. So how are they going to vote that? Well, things like diversification, precision, portfolio management, the ability to monitor, because AI never goes to sleep, and looking for things and changes in a context where it perhaps isn't possible with current technologies. The ability to personalize, there's talk in the financial services market around, customized products for every client that are based on an understanding of their portfolio, of their profile, of their needs, and building financial products that sort of suit each individual client. The ability to make better decisions and to mitigate risk, or to predict and look to overcome risks that are anticipated. And efficiency, which is the one that we talked about, which is looking at ways of handling routine tasks, filling out reports, responding to things, booking meetings, answering simple questions. All these sorts of things are possible, and sort of are cited by advisors as being ways that AI can help them in their business. Well, what do others think? Well, a large percentage of investors think that artificial intelligence will change the way that they and traders and advisors they work with will operate. 74% of respondents think it would improve the quality of client service that are provided by advisors. 82% say that AI would never replace human counsel, and 88% think that human-to-human contact is crucial in this case, it says there, but basically critical to the interactions between an advisor and their clients. So there's a lot of people that think that this is a good thing, and it is a good thing. But there's a number of potential downfalls. So, for example, what happens to jobs? I've been around a while, and through every cycle of technology, there's been concerns about what about the jobs? What happens in these cycles? What happens to the current jobs environment? What are we going to do to deal with the reduction in demand? How can we take advantage of these perceived benefits without losing a lot of people's occupations? Well, what typically happens is the reverse. So as technology revolutions have happened from time to time, what happens is they actually create more jobs than they eliminate. And based on this World Economic Forum report, it outlines one of the last cycles, or the sort of the current one, but a little bit older, back to 2020, looking at where there are decreasing demands for certain kinds of roles, data entry clerks and mechanics and assembly and factory workers. There are growing demand for other kinds of jobs, data analysts and scientists, machine learning specialists, big data specialists, digital transformation specialists, and the like. And so ultimately, in the space and in the cycle of change that takes place around these technology concepts and whatever, it has been the case that the jobs have increased. And so I would say that there's nothing to suggest that won't be any different this time around. It is important, though, to keep a close eye on things, to ask the hard questions, and make sure we know how these things work, because we don't want to add more risk into the system because we're engaging with tools and techniques that we don't understand the entire outcome. We've certainly seen it in the past in capital markets. So sometimes we adopt modeling techniques and things without sort of thinking them through, and there are implications that are both negative and positive from the use of new tools and techniques. So there are 4 types of AI value add, and so AI has the potential to impact all kinds of different things, both the process and the stakeholders in the capital markets business, investors, professionals, intermediaries, marketplaces, clients, businesses, all across the range of things. And the AI ecosystem is basically broken into four types of AI value add. The first one in the bottom left-hand corner is what I call report, which is the ability to take first level inquiries, take information and report information out in words, text, code, or anything sort of character-based, and expand a lot of manual processes that involve the handling and managing of data. That's kind of the one we think about first, really, in terms of the AI capability and some of the robotics tools and things like that are associated with it. The second one is what I call sense. And those are the things that the technology can, quote, see, or measure or hear. And so that basically is a way of improving the understanding of customer needs and wants, because we can observe using these kind of technologies. How do our customers use it? How often? Where? What kind of decisioning can we make? How can we help customers make better decisions? But how do we sort of sense the environment? What are the patterns that are evident that can be used to sort of use that information to make these kind of decisions? And how can we help clients and traders and advisors and stuff to use their environment to make better decisions and to sort of understand and sense what's going on in a particular marketplace? One of the things that I want to mention at this point is that these 4 sort of categories are not independent of each other. There are certainly overlaps or situations that would combine various pieces, but there are sort of 4 different categories of value. The third one on the top right-hand side is around creating net new value. So text images, we've seen the ability for AI to look at art and to use that learning to develop new art, probing the market to identify and test new and different approaches, imagining new products and approaches, creating and using a unique knowledge. A bunch of different things that sort of are more advanced. We call that ideation. And so in some ways, it's identifying new ideas that didn't exist before, that we as individuals didn't come up with, but the technology has enabled that to take place. And the final one is analyze, which is pattern recognition, clustering, looking for anomalies, looking for systemic issues that we can use to improve our detection, potential manipulation, some of the things around risk management, the ability to predict outcomes, look for root cause, better liquidity, forecasting and hedging, all these sorts of things, and perhaps look at things over a longer period of time. Because lots of these technologies that we've used in the past have some time limitation, just because of the vast size of the calculations and the work that has to be done. AI has the ability to look at much larger types of data or sets of data, and to then draw conclusions that perhaps have a longer timeline than what we're used to. And there are values potentially, and there are downsides. So do we trust the information? How much do we trust the information? How do we use it to make decisions? All these sorts of things are all part of the sort of adoption process for the AI technologies. So how is the capital markets environment using AI today? There are three really purposes today. One is efficiency improvement, which is really about processing trade data, extracting information, generating reports, and submitting the reports to regulatory authorities. The second one is revenue generation, which is looking for forecasting of liquidity, looking for opportunities to predict the availability and movement of money, and sort of driving trading volumes or plans or portfolio management, and understanding that in a little more in depth, making more money. And then the third one is risk management, which is looking at large language models to improve customer services and support, looking at ways of engaging with clients, looking at things that can be done to help with client queries and to move the process along, but also improve the sort of stability of the client relationship by providing them with the information they need to remain confident that we're all doing the right things. So who are the leaders in AI in North America? Well, an organization called Evident did some research in the last few months, actually, and they looked at 23 of the top global banks, actually the 23 top ones, and looked at 142 indicators and come up with some insights in AI and the usage of AI in the sort of financial services market. One of the things they came up with was that there are 5 names that consistently appear in the literature, in reports, in patents, and they're listed here: JP Morgan, Capital One, Wells Fargo, and in Canada, RBC and TD Bank. And that there are comparatively little, or has been up till now, comparatively little innovation in the AI space within the European banks to date. So various strategies are emerging from AI in banking. AI organizations are thinking a lot about how AI can improve operations. And there's also a number of looking at cutting edge innovation, which is that, radical end of things that we were talking about through applied research, patents, open source communities, partnering with universities and the like, to sort of look at the other end of things. The top 5 banks have published 67% of the research, filed 94% of the patents, and made 51% of the investments, with the North American banks continuing to accelerate away from their European competitors. So investment in AI companies is also growing, and at a 15% compound growth from 2017 to 22, where the top 3 investors are all U.S. banks. Now that's changing. There are some European banks that are challenging U.S. dominance, led by some French banks, and Barclays are the ones that are noted in the research. But there is an opportunity. There remains an opportunity for North American banks to be focusing their attention on it, but also for banks on the other side of the pond to be spending time and energy in it. This is an environment that is very strategic, and not to apply the AI to every single situation, but to be thoughtful and targeted in the investments that are being made, And this research that these banks are doing is about sort of getting their arms around what the best applications should be for the AI space. Another observation I would make about technology and transformation is outlined on this chart. And basically, in looking at digital transformation, of which AI is a part, the results suggest that the process, and in fact, all of you may have experienced it within your own organizations, the process or the time frame within which digital transformations take hold tends to be quite long. And so if you look at this chart, the organizations that, with the organizations that have reported, those who have been at the effort for more than 5 years report the best outcomes. So the message is not so much that things get delayed, but that the pursuit of the implications of these new technologies is a complicated thing and takes time and energy to do it. So it's not like I flip the switch and everything's going to be fine. So it's a long-term thing, and it's better to get involved in the thinking earlier rather than later, because of the fact that it does take time and energy to do these things. But again, that's not inconsistent with other cycles that we've been through around various other technologies that I'm sure that we could pull off 3 or 4 different things that we've experienced over the last 20 years that have behaved in a similar way. So not the be all and end all, not the panacea for the next quarter's results, but an opportunity to transform the business if thought about in a strategic way and targeted in a way that does not duplicate efforts that are happening in other jurisdictions. So how can advisors be enabled by this technology? So in short, it's real transformation that's accomplished through learning. So look for where and what the market is doing, and focus your attention on that. Assess the strengths, weaknesses, and blockers and amplifiers within your organization, your business, and look for where the features and activities and efforts that are taking place could best address those things, and focus the team's attention on that. So one of the things that is true is, first of all, organizations often pursue these kind of changes without talking to clients, which is not something that I would recommend. But at the same token, sometimes the clients don't even know what they want. And so what we found to be the most useful information is to watch them. So anthropology is really just, is the term that we use, but basically watching how customers use their product, the products that you have, listen for opportunities where they may be looking for things that you don't have. How they use this product will be different from how you think they do. And then that is a lot of learning around the kinds of things that you could be spending your time and attention on. So with the aid of technology, you can be able to unravel significant opportunities. And as I said, depending on how it's accomplished, a significant competitive advantage. And the last thing is understanding why the transformation is necessary. Transformation isn't just because we have this new technology and it's cool and we should spend time and energy on it. It's because we need to understand what we're trying to accomplish, how it suits it fits our strategies, and then what is in it for the local leaders. Why is this going to be important to them? How can they take the best advantage of this? What is their role that they're going to play so they feel like they are part of the strategy, because that will improve the outcomes of these various initiatives immensely. So, high level, 8 ways to drive innovation in your organization. Orchestrate innovation ecosystems, work together. What we find is that the highest performing organizations in the world collaborate. We call it openness. And so even to the extent of sharing patents or outputs or whatever, in a controlled way where you're not haven't lost your mind to give away, the crown jewels, whatever, but just the ability to interact, to cooperate, to share ideas, to build things together is a critical aspect of how to take this AI and any other innovation forward. Look at ways of optimizing prices by sort of helping your business along, challenging internal norms using AI by gaining new insights and knowledge. We've done this way all the time, forever. Perhaps there's insights that can come from AI that will help to dismiss some of those or dispel some of those ideas. Look for ways to engage customers. It's almost a sin to go off and to produce a new product without actually engaging the customers in their point of view. What we're looking for are things that are going to create a superior customer experience. And so therefore we need to ask them, we need to engage with them, we need to understand what the things are that drive them and how that is internalized and what that means in terms of your product. Build offers, strong offers that are able to use the data to add to add new services, or look for complementary products and services that can drive growth. Refine customer services using bots and other automated technologies. Augment human capability or capacity, to provide services. So look for ways of reducing the cost of operations, improving reporting, the different things that sort of more tactical, and look at ways. We've had over the last 20, 30 years, we've talked about channels and multi-channel and all this sort of stuff, but really innovate how the channels and brands are used, what kind of internal processes you're using, how do you apply AI to that, and what kind of position do we want to be in the market? Who's our client? What kind of client do we have? And what kind of services and channels should we have to help to service them? So, will the Terminator ever become a reality? So that's we get to that stage 5 or level 5, and the machines are telling us what to do. Well, Morgan Stanley thinks that the advisor-client relationships will live on and will become and thrive within the revolution that is AI. A very large number of people are interested in working in the space and advising businesses. Younger investors are even more excited about the AI possibilities. 87% of respondents in the 35 to 44 range said AI was a game changer. 87 believed it was to help advisors would help providers to better client service. 85% indicated they would be interested in working with an advisor who uses it. So I pulled out this quote from the Morgan Stanley report, which I thought was insightful. So while AI is clearly groundbreaking and we're just scratching the surface of its potential impact, the clients who are most engaged with their financial advisors are also the most satisfied. So the relationship between the advisor and the client is key. AI should be viewed as not as a replacement of human guidance, but as a powerful tool to help turbocharge a financial advisor's practice management and client interaction capabilities. So it's not to replace you, it's to facilitate an improvement in what you're able to offer your clients, perhaps broader products and services, perhaps more tech-enabled decisions, but enhancing and reinforcing the relationship as opposed to replacing it. So some key takeaways. AI is neither good nor evil. It's a technology for us to use. AI and Gen AI and the future will be a boon to the ETF industry, for sure. And given its uses, AI should be viewed not only as a technology issue, but also as a deep strategy issue. And it requires CEO-level approach to where and how to deploy it, not just anywhere, not just the first idea that comes up. Financial institutions seeking to deploy will need a high metabolism rate coupled with a clearly defined risk appetite and controls. Why are we doing it? What are we trying to accomplish? How do we make sure we're getting what we think out of it? How does it work? Recent research looking at more than 60 use cases across sectors estimated technology could reduce between 200 billion and 300 billion in operating expenditures in the banking sector and boost productivity by about 3 to 5%. That's big money. The largest impact could be felt in marketing and sales, customer operations, investment servicing, software engineering, and risk and legal. Gen AI could change the rules of the game as it allows for new levels of bottom-up innovation. Those that manage to let their staff test and share AI hacks, the new ideas and the testing, will have a leg up at becoming genuine learning organizations. So, final thought from Isaac Asimov. I do not fear computers. I fear the lack of them. Let's look for opportunities to take advantage of the AI revolution to make sure that we understand how it works and what it's doing in a sort of a controlled sense, but to look for opportunities to improve our businesses and to make the lot of our clients even more significant from a returns perspective and other perspectives as you can already. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gerry. We haven't discussed having a Q&A session, but I will ask you a couple of quick questions on the back of this presentation. The first one would be, it sounds to me as though AI, in some sense, is likely an improvement on what we've so far seen in terms of the robo-advisors segment. Are you aware of the robo-advisors segment plans with regards to AI?
I know enough to be dangerous, and I have a couple of situations that I can't talk about. So how's
Okay, so they're looking at it. Okay. The second one I would mention, when I think it was the Morgan Stanley survey that you alluded to, or that you were making reference to, saying that most people expect that it will ultimately result in better customer service. I'm wondering from a product development standpoint whether you've already had occasion to actually experience this, and I would preface that by saying I don't know that it's going to be that difficult to get a better customer experience, because it strikes me, and maybe I'm the only one. I actually hope so. That would be sort of nice, and maybe I'm cynical, but my sense is that customer service, particularly since coming out of COVID, has actually entirely gone down the toilet. In other words, we no sooner have experienced poor service or non-existent service that already we are asked to fill in a survey extolling the quality of the service we just didn't receive. Yeah. So again, like I said, this is a bit tongue-in-cheek in terms of question, but do you think AI is actually going to help solve that problem? Because all of the automation that's taken place courtesy of technology in the past, everything that's supposed to make life easier seems to be pushing out all of the work onto the end customer, with very little in the way of actual customer service. So do you see AI as truly being able to fix that problem? Because that would be lovely.
Yeah, there's a couple of sort of answers or categories of answers. I absolutely agree that in some cases, the kinds of technology applications for customer service and support and chatbots and stuff are not designed for a smooth transaction, or they're designed with a limited amount of insight in the chatbot to be able to actually answer the question. So the clients will get answers that don't reflect the importance of their question, and often aren't very helpful. And I also agree that we've kind of codified NPS and those sorts of things to be asking questions about satisfaction. And we're asking those questions in a way or at a time when perhaps we don't even know ourselves if we've provided the service well to the client. And certainly the clients will have different opinions on whether that's so. The third part of that is, are we responding? So if a client says, I really got a bad experience, are we actually following up with them? Because it's been my experience that in some cases the clients don't do that. The second thing is the use of AI to understand, to really understand what the client needs are. And there's been some technologies that have been used for the last few years that are about understanding what they don't say. And there's some structures of ways of asking questions that can help an organization to understand not just what the needs of the client are and how they're being satisfied, but what the hidden needs are, or the influencer stuff, or the what we would call wants are. And by using that information and then re-engineering the process to the front, you can add in features that not even the client necessarily knows well what their needs are, but it can have a dramatic effect on the outcome. So to me, it's a combination of using the chatbots and the technology in a way that's effective and doesn't aggravate the situation by not actually providing what you're offering, what your answers to questions. And in a more advanced sense, using technology to understand what your client needs are, and both through observation, but also through technology, understanding what these underlying needs are that haven't been communicated. And that is also an opportunity to exceed the expectations of the client. And in fact, they'll recognize it, but may not even know where the idea came from, kind of thing. And it's possible, and I've done it in client situations. It's incredible, actually, the impact it can have.
That's great. Thank you for that, Gerry, and thank you for the presentation. Much appreciated. I would say in closing that the answer that you just gave and the advent of AI strikes me, if it does help solve the customer satisfaction element, represents a massive opportunity for those organizations that are able to successfully do so, while the other one, I'm sure a lot of us will be happy to move our business to where the solution is actually being delivered. And that takes me back to the onset of when robo-advisors entered the scene. A lot of people were kind of concerned that, what is the idea? You're going to have those robos and they're going to take away all of the work that advisors do. And turned out that wasn't the case, evidently, at all. And as Gerry mentioned, human interaction, it strikes me, is becoming ever more critical and ever more important the more technology we deploy. So in the case of the robo segment, somebody made a comment that ultimately it wasn't really going to be a case of whether robos were going to represent the end of the advice business. It was more a case that advisors who were able to make proper use of technology were going to be winning the day versus advisors that could not. And I think that's the same situation as far as how advisors chose to ultimately incorporate some robo or some digital solutions into their practice versus those that did not. It will be the same likely outcome as pertains to the incorporation of artificial intelligence into your businesses. Anyways, thanks so much for that. That was our keynote. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Gerry, thanks so much for taking the time and for sharing your insights and your thoughts on the topic. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Hope it was helpful.